Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all of the praises and the glory to the Most High and His Son, Yahweh Bashmi Shai Bashem Rakah Kwadash, and double honors to the head apostles of the great millstone that taught us this truth through the power of the Holy Spirit, Yahweh Bashmi Shai Brakatham, to the elect, whom is the 140 and 4,000, and including the 1/3 that do follow the 140 and 4,000. All right, and it's your brother Laban coming at you with another lesson. And in this lesson, I want to tackle this demon of unworthiness, which has hit brother to brother, and is certainly hit me some years ago as well. Just to put myself out there just a little bit too. And the reason why I'm doing this lesson, because I spoke with a particular brother, and that's as far as I'm going to go with that. And just to do this lesson anyway, because this lesson may very well apply to any brother out there that might have thoughts of doubt. One of these, feeling unworthy. But the reality of the matter is that we are all of high value. Why? Because Yahweh Shai has called us. We didn't get ourselves involved in this thing. Remember that in John 15 and 16, that reads that you have not chosen me, but I have chosen you. So if the Father have chosen us to be a part of this thing, that means that we're in a very unique, special place. All right. And to be who we are is the most valuable thing you can be, is a man of the Lord. All right. You could have been anything in the world. You could have been a basketball player. You could have been a millionaire, damn near anything. You could have been in the 1,000,000,001 places. Okay. There's 8 billion people on the face of the earth. And yet the Lord have only chose thousands of men to preach this word. So when you really analyze it like that, there's no space to feel unworthy. And what that really is nothing more than a demon. That's all it is. Okay. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to read this scripture over here. Let's read 13. Let's begin by reading there. And the point is in 14. For by one Spirit are we all baptized into one body, whether we be Jews or Gentiles, whether we be bond or free, and have been all made to drink into one Spirit. Exactly, because the Apostle Paul was a vessel to bring in the Israelite foreigners, and also to gather all those that do believe, whether they be Jews or Gentiles, because even outside of Israel, you also had Israelites that knew the customs, and they were known as the Hellene. If I'm correct, they were known as the Hellene Israelites. And then you had the Hellenized, which were the Israelites that were colonized by the ancient Greeks. Okay, when you go into the history of the book of Maccabees, it tells you that. And even the prophecy of Daniel's 8 goes into that as well. How the Greeks would come through and spread their doctrine all around towards the Israelites. And then the Israelites gave into the Greek customs. So that's who Paul was really dealing with. He was dealing with Israelites whose ancestors go back to all of that. All right. Because they were also Israelites anyway, under the covenant. Whether we be bond or free, and have been all made to drink into one Spirit. For the body is not one member, but many. Exactly. The body does not just regard one guy. It's not about, oh, there's a main guy and it's truth. No, there is a main guy actually. And it's the guy that we're serving. Hence is why we're known as ministers. All right. And this is what we've been called into, brothers. We've been called into do a mighty work. And I use the term mighty because not many people are called for this. Only the great men are called for this spiritually. Now, when you read the book of Jeremiah 5 and 5, let me pull that out. This is what it reads right here. And this is the Lord speaking through Jeremiah. I will get me unto the great men, and I will speak unto them, and for they have known the ways of the Lord, excuse me, and the judgment of their power. But these have altogether broken the yoke and burst the bonds. So that's who the Lord has gathered to perform and to bring out this gospel, is the great men. All right. So we don't know who we are in our past lives. But what we do know is that according to that precept is that the Lord has called great men to do a great work. The greatest work of all time, actually. So that makes us very valuable, brothers. Okay. So anyway, let me read this again. For the body is not one member, but many. And if the foot shall say, because I am not the hand, I am not of the body, is it therefore not of the body? And if the ear shall say, because I am not the eye, am I not of the body? Is it therefore not of the body? If the whole body were an eye, where were the hearing? If the whole were the hearing, where were the smelling? But now have the Most High set up the members, every one of them in the body, as it hath pleased them. Exactly. So when we're all working together into doing what he has called us to do, which is the most important job of them all, which is to what? Push this ministry, push this gospel out there, then it's a pleasure unto the eyes of the Lord, as it is also written in the book of Psalms, the 60th chapter. It says that the Lord gave the word, and great was the company of those that have published it. So we are all unique, and we are all in unique spaces to fulfill. Whether you are a brother which knows how to make garments, whether you are a brother that knows how to make signs, whether you are a brother that can hold the camera if needs be, or whether you're a brother that's a good speaker, or whether you're a brother that's a good reader. Okay. Or you could even be a helper. And the thing with the Apostle Paul, which goes to show when you read the book of Romans, the 16th chapter, the Apostle Paul, if I'm correct, he's giving salute to all of the people that were behind him in pushing this ministry. Because pushing the ministry, or should I say, let me use this word instead. I keep using that word. It's pushing the gospel, right? Pushing the gospel is not a one man's job. It takes many members to do this job, to really get the point across. Now, can you get the point across of one guy? Yes, possible. But if you really want to be more effective in getting the point across, it's got to be by many members. It's the same thing with any business. Successful businesses don't just work by the operation of one man. It has to take many people to make it a success. Now, you got businesses that can operate with very few people in it, but it's not as successful as it's going to be as the ones that have a multitude of people working behind it. All right. So if you got more people that can operate the business, then the more the business can be the best it can be. And being that we're in this truth, guess what? What did Yahweh Shai say? Yahweh Shai said, as he gave the parable, right? And after the parable that he made, what did he say? He said, occupy till I come. You look up that word occupy, the word goes back to business. So we're occupied in performing the ministry. This is our business, and it's going to have to take many members. Now, even Yahweh Shai, and me and the brother spoke about this. Yahweh Shai was a very powerful individual just by himself. He had the spiritual power to heal people. And, he was confident enough, and he didn't really need this. I mean, Yahweh Shai was confident enough, and he was more spiritually powerful enough to just deal with the ministry himself. But what he had is he had other members that was with him. He had the 12 that was with him. And then you had the 70 that was with him. So he had a lot of people that was behind him in the ministry. Okay. Same thing with the Apostle Paul. The Apostle Paul didn't need all of them people, because the Apostle Paul, he was in the spirit, man. He was in his zone. But guess what? The Apostle Paul had a lot of followers and people that supported what he was doing. All you got to do is read Romans 16, and that will explain itself to you how many people that was behind him in that. Okay. So in this truth, it's going to be the same thing. You're going to have many brothers that's going to come in this thing, and they're going to put their brick in, as the saying goes. All right. So, whether you are of a lower rank, that doesn't mean that you're not valuable. You are valuable, because you're needed to push this ministry. Okay. So just by the simple fact that the Most High called you into this thing, not man. Now, did it take men to be stationed for you to hear this word? Yes. But guess what? The Lord gives the determination whether your eyes are going to open to this thing or not. All right. So just by the fact that the Lord have opened your eyes to be in this thing, that shows you that the Lord obviously sees something in you for you to be a part of this thing. And you got to also consider that Everything that's happening now, and as well as even the elect, have been chosen before the foundation of the world. Now that's heavy. That's not to be taken as a grain of salt. All right, let's read on. So as this reads, but now have the Most High set the members, every one of them, in the body as it hath pleased them. And if they were all one member, where were the body? Exactly. But now are they many members, and yet but one body. Exactly. So even the outward of the body, right? If you look at your toes, if you were to clip your pinky toes, you wouldn't be able to stand upright. You wouldn't even be able to walk straight. Okay. You may look at certain body parts and you may think, oh yeah, well, I don't need that body part because it's the least it's the least of them all. So that's not even needed. No, that's very well needed, because like I said, if you don't have your pinky toe on both sides, guess what? You ain't going to be able to walk straight. Every time you walk, you're going to fall and bust your ass. So you need your pinky toe. Okay, everybody is counted. Everybody has a value in this truth. Okay, every brother has a value. Now, I will say this too. Now, the brothers that are heads, yeah, they're the most important among many of the members. Why? Because they have a heavy weight of responsibility in taking care of the flock. That's the reason why they're more important. Just like how the brain is more important. The brain is responsible for keeping the body at work. You have the conscious and you have the subconscious part of the brain, which keeps the heart pumping, and as well as even the lungs breathing without you even being consciously aware of it. All right. So that's the importance of the brain. Okay. And then you have your five senses. Brain is responsible for that. Your neurons, as well as even your eyes that do see. The brain is responsible for that. All right. So the brain is responsible for the whole entire body to work as it is. And then you have what? The spirit that's in the middle of your brain, which is in the pineal gland. All right. So that's why the brain is the most important part of the body. But guess what? And yet and still, let's just say you took out your spleen or you took out your liver, the body wouldn't function correctly. You probably would have all kind of problems. All right. You wouldn't be able to live. Let's just put it to you that way. If you were to take out one of your important vital organs, if you were to take out one of your vital organs, you wouldn't be able to live. Okay, eventually you'd be dead. You'd probably be able to live, but not too long. You'd probably be dead before you know it. Okay, so even your kidneys are important. Your kidneys may be smaller than the rest of your kidneys may be one of those small organisms inside of you, right? Inside of your body. But guess what? It's very well needed, because if you don't have your kidneys, all of those toxins that the kidney takes and filters out, guess what? Your body's going to be full of toxicity and you're going to wind up dead. All right. So even your kidneys and as well as your spleen and your liver play a good role in part of your body. These body parts that you may think is not necessary is highly less necessary. Okay. So it's the same thing in this truth. You might be a brother that might have a lesser rank, and that's probably the reason why you probably feel like that. Or it could be a brother that may feel like they don't get their point across properly when they're doing lessons. It could be all of these things put into one. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get another precept, and we will get the book of what? Matthew 25, and we're going to begin by reading verse 14. And we're going to do this over here. The parable of the talents. So this is Matthew 25 and verse 14. The kingdom of heaven is as a man traveling into a far country, who called his own servants and delivered unto them his goods. And unto one he gave 5 talents, and to another 2, and to another 1, and to every man according to his several ability. And straightway took his journey. And then he that had received the 5 talents went and traded with the same, and made them other 5 talents. And likewise he that had received 2, he also gained other 2. But he that had received 1 went and digged in the earth and hid his Lord's money. And after a long time, the Lord of those servants cometh and reckoned with them. And so he that had received 5 talents came and brought other 5 talents, saying, Lord, thou deliverest unto me 5 talents, and behold, I have gained besides them 5 talents more. And his Lord said unto him, Well done, thou good and faithful servant. Thou hast been faithful over a few things, and I will make thee ruler over many things, and enter down to the joy of thy Lord. Exactly. And he also that had received 2 talents came and said, Lord, thou deliverest unto me 2 talents. Behold, I've gained 2 other talents besides them. And his Lord said unto him, Well done, and good and faithful servant. Thou hast been faithful over a few things, and I will make thee a ruler over many things. Enter down to the joy of thy Lord. And then he that which received the 1 talent came and said, Lord, I knew thee that thou art an hard man, reaping where thou hast not sown, and gathering where thou hast not strawed. And I was afraid, and went and hid thy talent in the earth. Lo, thou hast that is thine. So this is what the Lord said. His Lord answered and said unto him, Thou wicked and slothful servant, thou knewest that I reap where I sow not, and gather where I have not strawed. Okay, so if the Lord gave you a talent, which the talent just represents every man's several ability, you got to put that to use. Otherwise, as verse 27 says, Thou oughtest therefore to have put my money to the exchanges, and then at my coming I should have received mine own with usury. Exactly, because at that point it's going to be usury if the Lord have given you a talent and you don't put it to use. Okay, so a brother may think, oh, well, my videos ain't really all that. I'm not really getting that much hits, or for whatever. Maybe I'm not pronouncing my words correctly. Maybe I'm not talking correctly, or whatever the issue is. Okay, the Lord gave you a talent, and you got to put that to use. Whatever your talent is. Now, you may be a brother that can speak 2 languages, 3 languages. Okay, you might be a brother that know how to do certain things with the videos and to make the videos look interesting, but you may not be a very good speaker. Okay, but guess what? You got to put what the Lord has given you to the test. You got to put it to work. Whatever the Lord has given you, you got to put it to work. Otherwise, you'll be none of his then. And that's not what we want. We want to be called and chosen. As it is written, many are called and few are chosen. So what we got to do is we got to put on the act of the mentality of the elect and persevere and overcome what we feel and what we think, because it's just fleshly thoughts any doggone way. The scripture says, let thee go mortal thoughts. All right. That's what we have to do, man. That's what we got to consider. We got to consider the reality that we're the most valuable group of men here on the face of this earth. The prophets are the top men of the earth. This is Psalms 105, verse 13. And when they went from one nation to another, from one kingdom to another people, he suffered no man to do them wrong. And yea, he reproved the kings for their sakes, saying, Touch not mine anointed, and do my prophets no harm. So that's telling you right there how the prophets are the most important people above everybody. So much so that even the prophet becomes greater than the king himself. All right. Even during the time of King David, you had a man by the name of Nathaniel the prophet. Even though he was the king, but you needed the prophet, which the prophet was also known as the priest, to foretell stories to the king of what's to come and what was going to be. That was always the case, even during the time of King Hezekiah had the prophet Isaiah at the time, right, to let him know what was gonna befall. And what happened was King Hezekiah was overwhelmed with what was going on with the Assyrian king, because the Assyrian king was conquering a lot of the people round about. And when you go into the story, Isaiah, encourages Hezekiah to trust in the Lord, basically, right? Because he gave him some words to send to the king of the Assyrians at the time, right? That all of those words were going to be in effect, and he was going to be on the losing end of the war. And King Hezekiah was going to be all right. He was going to be cool. So that's all I really want to say on this right here. So the prophets were always very important to kings and so much more the Heavenly Father himself. So Again, if you've been called into this thing to push the word of the Lord as a prophet, or to be even among the prophets, then you're in a very highly valuable space. All right. So there's really no space to say to yourself in mind, or even, out loud, that you're not valuable. Okay. You are a very, very valuable asset in this thing, man. All right. That's the reality. So yeah, let me go back and read the book of 2 Corinthians 12 again. No, that's the wrong one. It's 1 Corinthians 12. So now let's go back here and let's read all the way down to verse 21. And the eye cannot say unto the hand, I have no need of thee, nor again the head to the feet, I have no need of you. No, much more of those members of the body which seem to be more feeble are necessary. And that's exactly what I was saying before. The unnecessary parts of your body, as it looks, are very necessary. All right. So all of you brothers that's in this ministry, man, like, don't overlook the idea that you're called into this thing to serve a great purpose, man. And that your position is very more so worthy. Because what you don't want is, you don't want to be that guy that wants to force your way up to the very top, to being a leader. Now, the more you stay in the truth, of course, that's going to be your destination, because all of us are going to be here to be leaders. All right. Depending on how long, we have here. Like, if we're here for a number of years, then the brothers that are in the know right now that are pushing this truth, eventually y'all are going to become leaders anyway. Okay. So that's a given. But what I'm saying is that appreciate your position and fulfill that position, because your field of line of work is needed. And it's not just you doing the work, but it's also you being there for the brethren as well. That is also needed for other brethren. You may be a necessity to another brother because of your knowledge. And what you don't want to be is, you don't want to be a brother that's looking for preeminence, man. That's not the kind of brother you want to be. And I mean, there's been individuals that have done that, and now you don't see them anymore. They've stood the test of time, and now they're long gone. Okay, because it was never really about them growing in Yahweh Shai. It was about what they wanted, and what they wanted is to be leaders. Okay, so you will become a leader in due time, because eventually, which Lord willing, I hope that this is not the case, but let's just say that we're here for a number of years, right? Most of you brothers that are doing the work now, y'all are going to become leaders anyway. Okay, it's just a matter of time. But I'm just speculating, because we may not even have that amount of time anyway, right? But the point of the matter is that brothers that have low positions, I'm going to go back into speaking about, those positions are very necessary for the sake of the ministry, to push this gospel out there. We're all necessary for the ministry, and we're all necessary for each other. And those members of the body which we think to be less honorable, upon these we bestow more abundant honor. Exactly. And our uncomely parts have more abundant comeliness. For our comely parts have no need, but the Most High have tempered the body together, having given more abundant honor to that part which lacked, that there should be no schism in the body, but that the members should have the same care one for another. And that's what I'm talking about. Because if you're a brother that's not playing your position in the body, then guess what? Now you're actually holding back the ministry from actually propagating the gospel. All right. It only takes one guy to say, you know what, fuck this, I ain't doing this no more. That's going to hold everybody else back from doing what's right, which is to publish the gospel. Okay. So if you do what you got to do on your end, then you're making it more effective for us to push the gospel. So something that may not be necessary in the body, don't get it twisted, is very necessary. All right. Just like your pinky toe on both sides is very necessary. If you don't have them bad boys, you're going to be falling on the floor every chance you get. All right. Verse 25 again, that there should be no schisms in the body, but that the members should have the same care one for another. Exactly. We should have the same care one for another. Again, just like I've mentioned, every brother is necessary for each other. You have the heads, you have the officers, you have the new brothers coming in, and then you have just the brothers that are good readers. And we all need each other so that we can support each other to do one thing and one thing only: push the gospel. And whether one member suffer, all the members suffer with it. Right. Or one member be honored and all of the members rejoice with it. Right. Verse 27. Now ye are the body of the anointed and the members in particular. Okay. So there you go. So from verse 28 and verse 31, just explains the point a bit more simply. But the thing of it is, man, you brothers out there that have been chosen to do this work, again, it's not something to take lightly. So if you got an earlier position, or if you've been in this thing for a later amount of time and you have a high position, listen, man, it ain't about trying to get to the high position. It's about doing your part so that you can support those that you've entered into labor with. Okay? Because we've all entered into other men's labors, and we have to show respect onto that. All right? Because if it wasn't for these guys that are doing the work right now, then you wouldn't be doing the work. You wouldn't have known what the work is to do. Okay? So everything has to be done in decency and in order. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go and read the book of what? Hebrews 6 now. Chapter 6 and verse 10. For the Most High is not unrighteous to forget your work and labor of love, which you have showed towards his name, and that you have ministered to the saints and do minister. Because that's all we are. All we are, regardless of what positions that we have or whatever talents that we have, we're all ministers. We're all servants. So the work that we put in, whether you've put in a great deal of work because according to your talent that the Lord have given you, the Lord might have given you more talent, so you're able to do more work. A brother may have been given less talent to do, less amount of all kind of work. Guess what? It's all geared towards pushing the ministry. It's all geared towards pushing out the gospel, which cannot be disaccounted. That's going to be taken into account. All right. And in that, as this reads, and we desire that every one of you do show the same diligence to the full assurance of hope unto the end, that ye be not slothful, but followers of them who through faith and patience inherit the promises. Exactly. And what is the promise? The promise is the kingdom. So that's what we're focusing on. That's what we're working towards, is the kingdom. All right. And as it is written that we have to give diligence to make our calling and our election sure. Because none of us know that we're the elect. None of us have received a letter from an angel or even in vision that you're of the 144,000. We don't know that. So now we have to walk by faith and not by sight. As this thing is about anyway, if Yahushua is the author and the finisher of the faith, then what is necessary to please Yahushua? Faith. Okay, when it took the poor and the lame and the sick and the blind to be healed, they got healed because they believed that Yahushua was the one that can save them from their illness. And by that faith, they were saved from their illness. They were made whole. So the same has to be applied. All of us have to operate with faith. Now, every brother has different levels of faith. Some brothers have high level of faith. Some brothers have medium levels of faith. Some brothers have low faith. But the brother that has low faith, that doesn't mean he's a wicked guy, because he doesn't have a heavy, decent amount of faith like the brother that may be in a better position does. Okay, whatever portion the Lord has given you, you got to put that to action. And you got to be as good as you can be, as it is also written in the book of Matthew 25, right? That the man which had 2 talents, he was able to gain 2 more talents. So the Lord said to him, which was parabolic, It's not literal. The Lord told him and said to him, look, you've been faithful in a few things. You will inherit all things. I'm roughly paraphrasing what I just read there, right? But you should get the gist of what I'm saying. So that's all I have to say with that. What I want to also do is I want to read the book of Ephesians now, chapter 2 and verse 10. And this is what we got to consider also. For we are his workmanship, created in the anointed Yahushua unto good works, which the Most High have before ordained that we should walk in them. So again, if you were chosen to do the work of the Lord and it was preordained, again, that's a heavy thing. All right, because that just goes to show you, you had no control all along. All right, so you had no control all along, and the Lord chose you to perform these good works that was ordained. Then guess what? You got to take that into high consideration, man. All right. So we are all valuable, brothers. We are all to be taken seriously. And we should take what we have seriously. We should take ourselves seriously. And this is the reason why we should consider our calling. The positions are there for order's sake. That's why the positions are set up. Okay. But it's not all about the positions, though. It's all about you doing your part to make it unto your salvation. Because you've had many guys that have came and went and had high positions. Where they at? In the world. Never to come back again. Okay, you've had brothers that were great speakers. You've had brothers that can do all kinds of stuff, get into so much information. Knew about the herbs, knew about this, knew about that. And these guys were just all over the place. They were like octopuses. They were good on everything. You had certain brothers that will line up brothers to read various scriptures that he had in his fucking mind that he remembered. Again, where is he at? In the world. Okay? So the thing of it is, just by you still being here, and as well as the new brothers coming in with the lesser of rank that they have, guess what? All of that is going to be considered in the eyes of the Lord, man. All right? And that's something that we should really understand. And so I say, it's not about being in a high position. Not everybody can be in a high position. Not everybody can be an officer. Not everybody can be a new brother. Okay? So the thing of it is, getting back to the point now, if you was called into this thing that was not even in your control to be called into this thing, right? And yet you're doing the good works, which was preordained of the Father. That's a serious thing, because again, you had no control of this. All right. You could have been preordained to be a 2/3 ass nigga. How about that? All right. So just by the fact that you've been preordained to be called in to do the good works to the Lord, and Lord willing, we're the elect and we continue to do the good works unto the very end. That's to be taken into high consideration. And now you got to look at yourself as a very valuable brother, as a very important vessel to this ministry. So I think I've said what I had to say on this right here. I want to give all of the praises and the glory to the Most High and His Son, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rakah HaKwadash. And with that, I'm out. Shalom.